Hey guys, so term after term, this chapter becomes a problem because people struggle not with substituting the numbers into all the formulas that they have, but in trying to figure out how to round when it's involving decimals, and you get decimals inside of fractions and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to introduce you very quickly to one of my favorite calculators in the whole world, and I'm going to use this compound interest problem to do it. So you're using the compound interest formula to compute the total amount of money accumulated and interest earned on $1,500 for 6 years at 5% compounded quarterly. And this is the formula for compound interest that you get from your text. And let me briefly introduce you to what all of these variables in the formula stand for. So A stands for the amount of money you have after this interest compounding has happened. P stands for principal. That's the original amount of money that you started out with. R is going to stand for your interest rate, and it is important to note that you're going to need to turn that into a decimal. The N stands for how many times a year the interest compounds. And then T represents the amount of time. So if I take all of those values and substitute it into the formula, I get this because I took the $1,500 given to me in the problem was the amount that you originally invested. That's your principal. Okay, that's your P. 1 is just part of the formula. The interest rate is that 5% that I've converted into a decimal. The number of times it compounds, it tells you that it compounds quarterly. So that means 4 times a year. So that's why I substituted 4 in for N. And N is there again right there. And the number of years, of course, is 6. So that's why we substituted 6 in for the T. So now that I've got all these numbers substituted into the formula, my math lab is great, but it doesn't, in the examples, have a tendency to actually show you what steps it took in order to do that calculation. And this is where I'm going to introduce you to literally my favorite calculator in the entire world. And it can be found at this website right here. Desmos.com/scientific. It is a free online scientific calculator. So I'm going to go there right now. Okay, and here it is right here. And you're going to be so happy when you see how awesome this is. So all you have to do is type the substituted values here into the equation. So for starters, I've got 1,500. So I'm going to type in 1,500. It's already got the parentheses here in the calculator as well, so I'm just going to hit open parentheses. 1 plus. Now you'll notice that numbers are starting to show up over here because I put an operation here and no number after it. That's why I've got the little caution thing right now, but don't worry, I'm getting ready to replace that. So 0.05. That fraction means dividing. So I'm going to hit the dividing button by 4. Now here's where you need to be careful also, because notice where my cursor is blinking and that it's blinking in the bottom or the denominator of my fraction by the 4. So if I click close parentheses, the parentheses ends up down there in the fraction, which is not where I want it to be. So I'm going to hit this backspace button right up here. And I'm actually going to click on I clicked right here. I know you can't really see where my cursor is, and that's kind of a pain. But I clicked right here, so now you see my cursor is blinking outside. So now I'm going to click close the parentheses. To raise the exponent, I'm going to hit the little button that looks like the A to the B power right here. And it raises it, and it's going to be 4 times 6. And voila, there is my answer over there on the right hand side. Now, because this particular problem is dealing with money, we want to make sure that we're always rounding to 2 decimal places, since that's what dollars and cents is all about, right? I've seen a lot of mistakes in my math lab where you guys did all the hard work, right? You just didn't round correctly, and we all know that it counts it wrong, and then I have to go back and give you partial credit. So let's not do that this week. So this number right here, the 2, of course, you look at the number to the right to decide whether to round it up or down. So the number to the right is a 6, which is 5 or larger. So we're going to round this to $2,021.03. So I'm going to walk you through just one more time where I got all those buttons from, because I know it's kind of a pain. Sometimes the numbers don't show up. It's kind of harder to see. So I'm literally just typing, because you don't see my cursor. So 1,500. I opened the parentheses. So I hit parenthesis. And then 1 plus 0.05. Hit the divided by button, 4. Remember to click in the window. Right here is where my cursor is clicking, even though you can't see that happening right now. So that my cursor is outside. Close the parentheses. Hit this little A to the B power button. And then 4 times 6. And then voila, there's my answer. Now, I want to go back to the problem really quickly so that we can discuss what exactly does that answer mean that I just calculated. I do still want to actually finish the problem itself. So what we just calculated with that formula was A, the amount of money that we had at the end of those 6 years. Now, that amount of money does also include the $1,500 that we originally earned. So the question is asking us to compute the total amount but it's also asking us to figure out the amount of interest that we earned. So this is a 2-part question. So $2,021.03 is what I had at the end of the time period. But to find out how much of that is interest that I earned, I need to go back and subtract the original $1,500 that I invested in the first place, because obviously that's what I started with. So if I subtract, I get $521.03. So the actual amount of interest that I earned was this right here.